What's up folks, Jay here again, and I'm going to share with you my best tips for making real money on Amazon merch that isn't dependent of your tier. I'm in tier 8000 and I did an upload from September to February, 5 months, and I still did over $18,000 in December alone. Then on February 11th, I uploaded 14 new designs and sold one the very next day. And actually 7 of them have sold now and it's not even a month later. Today we're going to hop on a viral trend that came out of nowhere last night at the Oscars. We're going to use Kittl to create a bestseller design using my 5-step bestseller recipe. So make sure you stick around. So last night at the Oscars, Jimmy Kimmel responded to a Trump message where Trump was bashing Kimmel. This was Jimmy's response.
Surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time?
So how can we capitalize on this? We need to come up with a good design and quickly. And we need to stay on the right side of the copyright laws. It's only been a few hours and I've already seen people posting the exact quote all over Amazon merch and Etsy. Pay attention. Do not do that if you value your account. Direct quotes are automatically copyrighted by the networks, and the last thing you want is to get your stuff removed for intellectual property violations. So let's look at my 5-piece bestseller recipe. Number 1 is go for big niches. Don't waste your time in small, low competition niches. Not to say that there isn't potentially some, awesome low competition niches that you can make a lot of money in, but people always put way too much stock in low competition, when sometimes low competition just means there's no demand. And there's nothing worse than starting in a lower tier and selling nothing because you're targeting ridiculously low searched micro niches. Now, micro niching can work for you if you list thousands and thousands of items. And while pennies do make dollars, if you want to make real money, hit the big niches. Put in the real work and price big too. Number 2 is don't copy. There's 3 main reasons. A, there's just too much competition already. It's not just unethical and a dirty thing to do. You're never going to overtake a listing that's already a bestseller. When you copy a listing that everyone else is copying too, you'll be starting on page 100 or 1000. So you're going to want to stand out. And B, sales velocity is the number 1 thing that tells us what will continue to sell. And the only real way to get good sales velocity is to bring something new or different to the game. Identifying gaps in the marketplace by understanding your niches is how you can win big on Amazon. And bringing something new to fill those gaps is where the gold is. Like if there's a ton of shirts with Taco Cat spelled backwards is Taco Cat, but they all feature the same beige gray cat with some stripes, try a Siamese cat. Or try a black cat, literally any other kind of cat, but not the same beigey gray cat with stripes. And then put it on a different color shirt than what's already out there by the thousands so it jumps out at you when it crosses a prospective buyer's eyes. And C is intellectual property infringement. A lot of times the best selling stuff is selling well because they're either trademarked, copyrighted, or infringing on a registered trademark. You must check trademarks because you will lose your shop if you are blindly copying and not checking for trademark. The third element in my recipe is my 5-5-90 rule, which is capitalizing on 5% trend only if it has proven success, or 5% seasonal, and 90% evergreen stuff. Trends are hit and miss, and often the first ones there are the winners. While seasonal designs like for Halloween or St. Patty's Day can hit big, but you're also going to get a ton of returns after the big day. Evergreens are the key to a long life on Amazon merch, and they're often bought as gifts for others, so they won't get returned nearly as often as trends or seasonal stuff. The fourth element is a design element. You need to fill the box. In over 10 years of print on demand, I've only ever had 2 people on Etsy say the design was too big and 0 reviews on Amazon merch that I know of. Your design needs to be visible at a glance, and if you have text, you want people to get what your design says right away when they're scrolling. So keep it simple and keep it bold. And the 5th ingredient is pricing. Do not price to make $0. Perceived value is a real thing and something that I talk about a lot. It's how people will think that this shirt is better quality than this shirt because it's priced higher. So don't waste your time pricing at $13.50 or $14 or whatever. I start my shirts around $18 and go up $1 once my BSR hits below 200,000. Then when it either hits 100,000 BSR or gets a review, whichever happens first, I go up another $1 to the $20 mark. This pricing strategy uses the product's market success to maximize profitability while staying competitive. And a bonus tip here is if it's really selling, like below 30 or 40K BSR, I'll boost it to $22 and leave it there for 30 days. Then I'll decrease it to $20 so Amazon shows the discount price beside the original price with a red slash through it and tells the customer that it's whatever percentage off. Okay, so now let's get to the designing and make something that'll be funny and safe for the duration of the year until the election. Okay, so the quote we looked at is, "Isn't it past your jail time?" So that was the quote that Jimmy Kimmel said.
Surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time?
And so I just searched it in the Amazon search bar here, and it says now for page 1 is 48 of over 1,000 results. When I started recording this, it was only like 50 or 60 results, which is, you know, pretty low, but now we're well into 1,000 and there's like pages and pages. So just so you know, that's how quickly you need to jump on trends, right? Because if you waste any time, you're not going to get, you know, in that first 1,000. So the alternative to jumping on trends and being one of thousands is bringing something new. This is a quote you cannot use because it's automatically copyrighted by the network that it was said on. So all of these shirts are in some, you know, serious violation here. Whether or not it's going to be something that the networks file takedowns for remains to be seen, but I'm telling you, this is not something I would do. The earliest ones, which was this one and this one, have already sold a handful of times, and we're gonna look here and see what we can see. So it's similar, you got the hair, the tie, similar, they introduced a flag. Isn't it past your jail time? Same look, same look. They added some bars, not super creative. And that said, on the rule with intellectual property rights, you are allowed to use a candidate's name while they are running. Once the election is over, you can only use the one who was elected into office. So for right now, you can use Trump and Biden, but once the election was over, like after the previous one, you could no longer use Trump. Now that is not to say that Trump's camp won't come after you for infringement on his brand. So you have to be very careful with that one. Kind of case in point why we have this quote to deal with today, because he came after Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Kimmel blasted him in front of probably close to 100 million people. So, isn't it past your jail time? Same thing, we the people. This is looking like, you know, very Second Amendment thing, so I don't think this person gets the niche. This is kind of like an anti-Trump design, and this is looking very Republican, if anything. So, not Democratic, which would be the anti-Trump sentiment typically, right? Using Trump's likeness is a dumb idea. All you need to do is have a unique design, and none of these are unique. Don't do this. Don't do a big white blotch. Also, design tip, because it looks terrible when it's printed, and you're going to have imperfections within the design. So what we're going to do is go into Kittl here and make a design that I think is going to sell for the duration of 2024 and probably even peak towards the November, I think, is when the election happens. And I like Kittl because it's taken some of the best elements from a platform like Adobe Illustrator and kind of incorporated it into their own design software that makes it really, really easy to design as if you've got years and years of practice, right? So I kind of wish there was something like this back in my day. So you can just click on new here, and then I'm gonna go right here to POD presets. So I like to use the Merch by Amazon one because it is not only obviously appropriate for Merch by Amazon, but it does work for almost every other platform out there. So I'll just click on that and hit create. And now we can go down here to Kittl's AI. And I'm going to type in here something that I think is going to be what we can use to generate something pretty cool. Here it is a simple cartoon sticker of a pouty baby with blonde hair wearing a business suit with a red tie. He's sitting in a jail cell. He is surrounded by toys shaped like New York City buildings and money. The baby should be reminiscent of a well-known business leader and president. And the reason I word it this way is because if you know you've ever tried to create, design, like make it look like a Donald Trump, the AI softwares are not going to spit out a result for you. They're going to say it violates their content policies, blah, blah, blah. So we can kind of, word it in a way that makes sense and we can see what we get. So now it says it's generating my prompt and this can take a few seconds. And here we are, here's one. So I'm going to hold Option. So if you hold Option down and pull, it'll pull both corners and keep it centered. And this is actually pretty funny. This is pretty good. I think I am going to try a different one. I like this one much better. So I'm just gonna delete that. And you see how easy this was, folks? Look at that. No mistake, it looks like a baby Trump with his weird flowy hair thing he's got. He's got the toys, he's standing behind bars. It's kind of funny. I think it'll resonate. I think it could do well. I might have to pull this bar over top here to make it look like he's actually behind bar. But other than that, I don't even think that's something that people would catch if you were to do it, right? So the first thing we can do here is click on background remove. Should get rid of this color here. And there we go. Got rid of the background. Looks awesome. The other thing you can do if you did want to scale it to make something really massive or big is you can click down here and you can run this up to, I think it's 16 colors. Yep, 16, and you can vectorize the image. That'll make it absolutely scale it to whatever size. You can blow it up to billboard size if you wanted, if you're ever going to do something like that. But for our intents and purposes today, we don't really need to know how to do that. Now, what can we add to this to make it not directly quoting the Jimmy Kimmel quote? If it was Trump speaking, you could just say something like, "It's past my jail time." So let's do that. So I'll just click the text button here. Or we can actually pick a different font here. This might work. We want to use something fun that is not the same as the gritty stuff that would probably appeal to actual Trump supporters. We want to go with something that would be kind of a little bit different and kind of geared towards the design, right? So Acme could work, Cherry Bomb could work here, I think. So just click on that, make this a little bigger, and we could say, "It's past," and I'll pull that out. And you can just move over until you see that dotted line, then you know you're centered. And you can also just click right here to center it. And then I want to curve this to kind of fit this curve here. So if we were to click on this here, now we can take this and bring it down a little bit, keep that in line, and bring this one down and keep that in line. I think visually we want to keep the same distance as here to here as it is here. So we'll just do that. I think we can do that, and whatever looks good there. And then we can just click on this again to make sure it's centered. It's past. I actually want to reduce the spacing between the letters here. That looks more fun, maybe a little less. Bring this down because we want it over top, I think. So we'll actually make this curve a little more. Now we'll just take this and do that, and then we can drag these out a little bit to make the curve a little more like a curve and less like a point. I think that'll do. Much bigger. We can center that. Maybe we'll make this a little smaller. Bring you down here so you're over top now. I can click on this, and if I hold Option and then click and drag, it'll create a duplicate. And I'm just going to change this to my, and we can get rid of the custom here. So we'll just click it again to deselect. We'll bring you down, and again I will hold Option and click, which would be Alt on a PC, but it's Option on a Mac. Highlight that, and then we'll write bedtime, and then we can just click on this, bring it out, and again we'll center it. So I'm going to click this and click this and click this. So now I've got all my types selected. I'm going to Command G, which is to group it. So now if I select this, I can move it all around together, make sure we're centered still, and then I'm going to change the color to what I think will look good is a white. And we're going to click on bedtime here. So we have bedtime selected here, as you know. I'm going to click on effects here, and we're going to use this one as a default to give it a bit of a background, and it still kind of looks cheesy. So I'm going to change the offset to 0, so it's directly behind now. The angle doesn't really matter because there's no offset, and we can boost the outline width here. So now we've got a couple of colors here. So I like the dark outline, but I also want to change this probably to maybe a red that kind of fits with the tie color in the background, right? So we can pick this, doing that same to my effects again, offset, outline width, and make this the red. And we'll make sure that they're all the same width. So I just went back and make sure that all the outlines are the same. And we're getting there, but I don't love this font after looking at it. So I'm just going to move that down a bit so we can kind of see a little bit more of the image here. So let's select this stuff for the font. What do we want to change this to maybe? I think maybe like something like a Cooper would be great. Kind of like how this looks, but I think we need to fill in these little white gaps. So we're gonna wanna make sure that we boost that stroke in the background here. So we go to effects, the red, the outline width, we'll boost that up right up to 100, I think. We'll do the same here. And then another thing we can do to make sure that this prints well, because we definitely don't want to get bad reviews for it not having like the awesomest print quality, which can sometimes happen when you have like lots of ink on a shirt. Number one way to do it, and it also helps for people to stop stealing your designs, is to distress it, because there will be imperfections on a big, large sheet of white ink. So having imperfected stuff, like by way of like a distressing it, kind of creates an element where you won't really notice the imperfections in a direct-to-garment printing. So we can go right down here to textures now. They've already got this stuff in here, and normally you would have had to search for grunge kind of thing, but it's all there already right now. So you can just click on this, for example. It applies the texture right to the design. So that applied, and if we zoom in here, you can see how it's, because it's color burn by default, it kind of pulls out what colors would be in behind. So I'm just going to click down here and select alpha mask, and then we're going to clip content, and then this will, I'll show you that will cut out all the little white pieces. So if we were now, for example, to make this a red background, you can see the red through. So if it was a blue shirt, you would see the blue through. So you can see what I'm going here. So that effectively removes the elements of the distressing, so you can apply that. It cuts the holes in it already. So you can apply that to any shirt color and it'll look awesome now. So let's just make the background 0 here so we can see our artboard, and I will zoom out. But now we've got a design that is not infringing on the copyright of the exact quote. It's not using an exact image of Trump. It's definitely, you know, you could see it looking like a businessman Trump-esque. When you mix it with the quote, it's kind of funny, but it's not ripping off other people's designs. And it's also not one of the thousands that we've seen already. Command A to select all, and hold Option while I drag the corner out to fit most of the box. And actually, I'll just pull you down here this way. We'll group everything and center everything. Command G, and then click this little button. And now I think this will absolutely stand out. It's funny. That's the whole thing, right, with merch by Amazon, is you need to be bold, you need to be funny, and people need to see what it is immediately. And I'm really sorry about the dogs in the background. Let's click up here for download, and it pulls up 4500 by 5400 pixels at 300 dpi, which is the ideal sizing for merch by Amazon, and to be honest, most other print-on-demand platforms. And then we want to make sure we remove the background. We want to make sure we optimize quality, and we'll download it for digital use as a PNG. And the nice thing about Kittl again is that if you created something, you can use it for commercial rights. And now you can see our designs cut out here, and we can come over to Amazon Merch here, and you can see that I did the 18,634 blah blah blah. Last year I did almost 85,000 in royalties, which is a really nice kind of chunk of change for something that I didn't touch for 5 months. You can come over to hit create here, and you guys know the rest of the deal. It's a drag and drop. So if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe so that I can continue to do this for you guys for free. And also subscribe to my email list down below so you don't miss any of my next videos. And if you want to try Kittl, you can use my link down below. You'll also get 25% off your first month of the Pro account, so you can try it out and test out some of the Pro features. Apart from that, please like and sub, because you are not going to want to miss my next merch video where I talk about my 3 biggest niches of all time that have made me over 6 figures in royalties. And no, it's not some micro niche. But in the meantime, you can check out this video over here on how to create some awesome designs and do niche research for absolutely free.